Cool, no worries.
Oh,
Right on.
Yeah, he was just making sure. He was just making sure you had the stream key, I think. So I think we're good. We'll hop in there now. What's up, everyone? I'm Justin. This is Rez.
Hello, hello.
He is going to be running Zelda 2.
We're here to play some Zelda 2.
100% all keys.
100% all keys. Hope you guys enjoy.
All the items, all the keys, and not game overing.
Hope the audio levels are alright.
What's up, everyone in chat? What's up, Cheese Highland?
Alright.
Green Hamford. A little low on my audio. I can boost that a little. Let me know if that sounds any better.
Alright, sorry about that.
I have a bad habit of changing my.
I might be dropping some frames. My internet's
my
a little
voice
bad.
volume when I talk randomly, so. What's up, DM?
Alright.
DM gonna be doing some runs later.
1, go.
Tonight. Alright, and we're off. So here we go. Rez is gonna go down to this cave we call Magic Cave. Get a magic container, and ideally he's gonna grab a 50-point P bag. He's trying to kill all these enemies basically without stopping. Which he did. But we'll see if he gets the bag. It's a little bit random. He does not get it. So not a big deal. The reason for the bag, we normally want to try to get that 50 bag there. And then one of 2 chances in the palace, the first palace, to get a 200 bag. And we can get level 4 attack coming out of that palace. Since he didn't get that 50 bag, you will need both 200 bags in the palace to get the proper leveling. If he doesn't get it, it's not a huge deal. It's a little bit of a time loss to get attack 3 out of the palace. But you can still finish the run. Your levels do end up syncing back up to where they should around the end of Palace 2, beginning of Palace 3, that kind of area. So there's kind of some new routing in this game that is a little, I would say probably a little scarier to do in like a race or marathon setting. So Rez is just going to do the traditional route here, which just goes to Shield Town right after Magic Cave. He's grabbing the shield spell now. And then he's going to head over to get a heart container, and then go into the palace. Alright, so he's gonna set up a little bit of a hopeful manipulation here. He's gonna wait right here on this tile till the next set of enemies spawns, and he's gonna try to take an encounter as he walks onto that tile, which he just did successfully. That actually skips a forced encounter screen, which you'll see on the way back. Of course, that Guria almost never throws the boomerang low like that, so unfortunately, Rez is going to be beamless for the palace here. So here's the screen he skipped on the way in. It's actually a lot harder to get it on the way out. The new route that I was talking about actually utilizes reverse bubble skip. But there's a lot of like pattern recognition, and pretty much everything has to be like within a certain set of frames as you arrive to be able to properly do it. So this is kind of the way most people have done it. Up until this year, really, or at the end of last year when stuff kind of started getting rerouted. Anyway, we are in Palace 1. Most runners will tell you this is the hardest palace in the game, which is kind of true, even though it's the one you do the most. Your low level stuff does a lot of damage. And ideally, he would have beams here normally. If this was a PB attempt or something, he would have certainly reset. Actually, he would have reset when he didn't get the P bag in the cave, but... those bots there that you see, those little blue jelly enemies, are the most random enemy in the game. They do a full heart of damage in here when you're at life 1, so really gotta be careful. But he's doing fine so far. If he had his beams, he could do a lot of these sections a little bit faster that have the bots. You can kind of beam them as you pass without having to stop. Walk through them when they're in iframes. But for most of these, he's probably gonna have to stop real quick just to stun it, just to make sure he's not taking damage. Oh, that one gave him a bad jump there. Max. Do it, Max taking names. This game's really fun to run, actually. I think most people... Oh, we tried to jump that bot there. Yeah, didn't quite make it over. There is a fairy when he goes back down that elevator. I'm not sure if he's gonna go for it or not. We will see. Fairy will refill his health if he needs it. 1.5 is pretty low right here. You get 2 bot hits would kill him, and then pretty much 1 hit from one of those enemies you just saw him kill, the Doom Rattlers, excuse me. There is 2 more of those in this palace. Alright, he's skipping the fairy for now. In fact, even if he takes a death in here, it's not the biggest... Ooh. Bubble got in there. It's not a huge deal if he takes a death in here. It's early in the run, we can always make up. He can get an extra life later if he wants, or he can just not do that. Rez is really good at this game, so I think he can bounce back from some early mistakes if possible, or if they happen. Shield cast there. Looks like he was looking for a 50 bag, which is a lot harder to get in the palace. It's a 50 bag will drop generally 1 out of 8. It's like a 1 out of 8 chance that the small drop is going to be a 50. Every 6 small enemies you kill produces a drop, but it's usually a blue jar like you saw him get. The one in the cave at the beginning, we actually try to kill that enemy on the specific frame from starting the game, which gives you like a much better chance of getting it, but it's still not guaranteed. The 200 bags, the large drop enemies, it's the same thing. It's every 6 enemies you'll get a drop, but it's actually a 50-50 with air quotes that you'll get a 200 bag or a red jar. All right, so Rez is out of shield casts. He's gonna have to be careful. Pretty much anything will kill him in 1 hit now, except for a bubble. And there's a red jar, so we're pretty much guaranteed attack 3 at this point. He actually might try to skip one of these enemies down here, since the final drop doesn't actually matter anymore. He can skip one of these enemies if he feels a little risky. Save about 3 or 4 seconds. We call this guy Chewbacca. And there he goes. So normally, if you still needed a bag, you would have killed that guy and then killed this guy, and that would have been another drop, but no reason to. Should be good now, though. He can actually survive a hit from Horsehead here with shield cast, so he'll be fine. There we go. Takes a few extra hits with the lower attack level. If everything went optimally, he'd have attack 3 for that fight. Alright, so we're out of there. No deaths. A little scary at the beginning, but he pulls through. Gonna be underleveled pretty much till the end of P2, like I said earlier now. So normally we'd have 4 coming out of here, and he'd probably take life 2. Rez usually saves life 2 for a little bit later, but he would normally take it sometime before the end of Death Mountain. And if you had attack 4, you'd also take magic 2, and some people even take life 3. But he's going to actually have to not take any of that extra stuff. He'll still probably take life 2. I'm not sure when he's going to do it, but he's going to have to wait on all those other ones so he can build up his attack level. And he's also going to need a little bit of luck. He's got a lot of drop chances by the end of P2, but he will need at least 1 or 2 of them to be a P-bag. Or we could see... one of the worst things that can happen to you in this run in like a race or no reset is to not make your levels back up by the time you're at the end of P2, which would, if that does happen, he's basically going to finish the entire run 1 attack level lower than he should be finishing it at. So like every palace after P3, or I guess starting at P3, he would be underleveled by 1 attack level, so everything takes a little bit longer to kill. Here we go, grabbing jump spell. Plenty of downtime in this game to hold the left button on the D-pad. Actually, was there 8 towns we get to go into? Some of them longer than others. A couple towns that are almost 2 full minutes. This one's one of the shorter. I think this one's actually about 60 seconds. Start to finish. I believe this one is the same as Shield Town, so... yeah, I think we should settle down now, even though he didn't get his attack level. We'll see, should still see some quality gameplay here. Alright, heading down to Jump Cave. Aptly named because it's the first place in the game. It's actually really the only place in the game that you are required to use the jump spell. And technically, if you want to use some damage boost strats, you're not actually required to use it, but it is certainly much faster to use it, so he will be using it. The third cave here is where he's going to use it. Oh! Tried to double hit that Gorilla and just went right through him. Alright, now we're gonna walk to Bagu. This is one of the more difficult walks in the game. Kind of at the mercy of the game. Nice pattern. And that guy followed him, of course. Oof. Yeah, and he wisely takes life there. Hopefully he can get through here without another encounter. Looks like he can. Nice. So 1 encounter is pretty average. 3 is the worst you'll see there. And now we're going to be heading over to the 3rd town. He's going to get the life spell. And then he's going to head into Death Mountain, everybody's favorite part of the game when they were kids. I think I started saying earlier that pretty much, I think a lot of people probably remember this game as being really hard when they were kids, especially compared to Zelda 1, myself included. But it's actually really not as hard as it seems once you kind of learn the combat. And it's really fun. Like, the combat is super addicting in this game. If you have any interest in playing a game like this, I would highly recommend just trying it out. It's like, it's just way ahead of its time, the combat. It's 2 buttons, you know, but there's so much you can do. DM, please. Yeah, in this category. That is it. Not a top 5 player. Alright, so we got the life spell. I neglected to say that he had to grab little side item to get that. He grabbed a mirror out of that first room he went in. There's a mirror under that table. You have to talk to the table to grab it, so he grabbed that. Taking a quick magic refill. Normally wouldn't take that because he'd be taking magic 2 pretty much right as he enters Death Mountain on the first few enemies, but he's not going to be doing that. So it's good to have the refill just for safety. Talks to Bagu's homie. That's why we went to Bagu, so Bagu's homie would extend the bridge. And that is like the only NPC in the game other than the guys who give you the spells that you actually have to listen to everything he says before you can exit out. Here we go, Death Mountain. First room's one of the tougher rooms. He already did lose his beams, unfortunately. He might utilize a life cast in the next room, even though his life is still almost full. It's nice to have beams. We'll see if he decides to use it here. Doesn't look like he's going to. Yeah, that part's a little tricky. You're kind of, again, at the mercy of what the enemies do there, if you can get through no stop or not. That was 5 hits he just did on that Daira. Looked like 3. He's doing double hits, which are a little bit tricky to do. He's kind of doing like a falling standing stab into a rising crouch stab, just basically seamlessly. Essentially gets 2 hits in the same amount of time it takes to do 1. So doing stuff like that on these enemies adds up throughout the run. Oh, this Daira. Alright, there's the life cast. Now again, all these enemies, if he had attack 4, would take... Every enemy he's killing here that's taking 5 or 6 hits would take 2 less hits, so they'd be a lot easier. Ooh, oh, alright, we're good. The only time in the game you're going to see a bit, the red version of the bot. Yeah, don't let rep fool you. Bits are jerks too. They are in a few other rooms, but we never go to them in the run. Alright, so there's drop number 1. Unfortunately, it was a jar, although he probably can't really complain too much, because that guy gave him a nice refill. Now he's full on everything again. Should be fine to get to the hammer now. Alright. And beaming up there. Another room that beams are good for, as well as the following room here. Takes care of those bouncing cats. Ugh. You can see him kind of luring that Daira out a little bit, so he doesn't have to fight him under that overhang. Just because the extra hits that it takes. So in this game, a lot of the enemies actually read your D-pad when you're playing, such as Daira's there. So if you kind of jump at them while holding forward, they're just gonna move back, and it's hard to hit them. So what we normally do is when we're in midair, we're actually letting go of the D-pad entirely, which will force the Daira to kind of stand still as you're going towards them, get you in there a little bit closer. I don't know if I'd say most of the enemies are like that, but probably at least half of the enemies in the game do that. And still, yeah, still no P-bags for Rez. He's got more chances, plenty of time. Like I said, though, he will need at least 1, possibly 2. He didn't take life 2 in Palace 1, so he didn't get any bonus XP from the gem coming out of there. Alright, well, we're out of Death Mountain. That's probably one of the early choke points in the game, especially when you're learning. Even with the proper attack level, and, you know, taking your magic and life levels. That part it's pretty tough until you kind of get used to fighting Dairas and all that good stuff. Ducking into some caves here to reset the spawn so he doesn't have to deal with anything in the overworld there. There's a 50 bag. Could have used that about 17 minutes ago. So now he is at attack 4. That's normally what the Daira kills would have looked like in Death Mountain. Nice and quick. We're going to try to get a what we call Boulder Dash here. He's going to try to take an encounter right on this tile. Perfect. Which is going to set up a double spawn as he leaves the road over here at a specific spot. Good. So now he's going to be clean all the way to the cave. That works most of the time unless you get fairy spawns there, which fairies can kind of just do whatever they want in the overworld. They walk randomly. Or fly randomly, if you will. This is Medicine Cave. If you notice the theme, we pretty much just call things by what item is inside them, including the towns. All the towns do have names that you're probably familiar with if you've played Ocarina of Time. All the sages in Ocarina of Time are named after the towns in this game, with the exception of Kasuto. And for some reason, Mido, or Mido, is not a sage in Ocarina of Time. He's just a little twerp that blocks you from getting out of Kokiri Forest. Good point. Yeah, Max. Well, so yeah, the town, in the lore, technically it's the towns that are named after the sages, because this game takes place far after Ocarina. But obviously the games came out in reverse order, so... But yeah, the first town was Rauru, Shield Town is Rauru, Jump Town is Rudo. Right? Am I right on that? Is it Rudo? Life Town is Saria, etc. This is Fairy Town. And he's also going to be getting one of the first 2 combat upgrades, which is the downstab, which is the best thing in the game. Link is about to level up. Trying to think of the sage name for Fairy Town, but I just can't think of it right now. Someone in chat's got me, I'm sure. I'm like racking my brain. I can't think of. I don't know why I can't think of it. Darunia is Reflect Town. We'll see that later. There's actually 2 Kasutos. Oh yeah, you're right. This is Mido or Mido, however you want to pronounce it. I'm also drawing a blank on Firetown, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, we got our stuff. This is one of the longer towns. There's like 3 towns that are kind of this length. Naburu. There we go. All these historians and shit. I'm just here trying to do commentary poorly. Alright, so we're out of Fairy. Little manip going up there out of the town just to get that spawn like that. And we're rolling over to Heart Cave. And we're gonna go into Palace 2. He's gonna have another drop chance right here. We're just gonna pray for a P-bag. Oh wait, did he move his... Did I miss something? Oh right, his drop has been moved. I'm dumb. His drop has been moved since he left P1, so next enemy will have a drop. Totally forgot he skipped Chewbacca in the first palace, so... First enemy in P2, first large enemy he kills will be the drop. Oh, nice, nice. Alright, so Rez risked it there by not going up another tile, which is good. He's gonna have hopefully a cleaner walk. Oh, this is looking really nice. Yeah, he's gonna be good to get all the way there.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect P2 entry. If he didn't get that fairy spawn, he would have actually had to go up around that second encounter, which would have caused an encounter to get him on the road there in the middle, like that choke point. Which might have been the only one he took, but likely would have probably taken another one, at least another road encounter on the way. Yeah, that's really good. Most of the time losses in this run, once you kind of get good at the game, are overworld time losses. Like, when you take an encounter, it can be anywhere. Like, a road encounter or a fairy encounter is usually 2 or 3 seconds. Most other encounters are like 6 or 7 seconds. Swamp encounters can even be longer than that because you're walking slower to get out. Also, you have to account for possible enemies hitting you in those encounters. That was a really solid room, and he gets the P-bag, so we are feeling a little better now. I think he probably would, just to feel safe, would like one more 200 bag. Yeah, right, sounds like every Zelda. The thing about... So, like, a lot of the combat, other than enemies like bots, most of the enemies in this game are going to do the same thing every single time. For the most part. Like, that guy, you know, he might jump, he might not jump. They're always going to be in the same spot. And yeah, most enemies you just do the same strat every single time, so it's really repetition. Overworld, though, it's a lot more just recognition and execution. And you don't really get a lot of time to make your decisions. We do a lot. You might see some pause buffering in the overworld, which is a good strat. If you want to kind of just scope out what the encounter's about to do before you actually make your move. Of course, it does waste a little bit of time, but it's usually worth wasting a second or so to make sure you get past an encounter, rather than taking the encounter that's going to lose you about 7. Scary jump there, and you got it. Despawned the final bot, nice. Alright, should have another drop coming up. I don't think it's going to be on this guy, I think it'll be on the next guy. Nope, I was wrong. I'm always wrong. No fairy in the butt. DM, I'm over that life. I'm past that life. When I ever decide to run this game again, the baby strats are gone. How can I even justify doing baby strats now? But a lot of people will, yeah, grab that key and then ferry the rest of that room so you don't risk falling in the lava from a bot. It doesn't really... It costs you a little bit of time, but you just get the magic right back immediately. There's a red jar in like 2 rooms later. Guaranteed red jar. Worth noting, Max, that when I had a 75, I have never ferried those bridges. I've also done exactly 1 run since I got the 75, like 4 months ago. Oh, little rope kill there, I like it. Get that extra 20. It's not actually called a rope, but I'm gonna call it a rope. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Next one should be the drop. I think he does... Okay, you got the P-bag. Alright, so we're good now, for sure, on XP. I think he might have been good anyway. He needs 1950 minimum entering the boss fight at this leveling to get the proper leveling coming out of here. So it would have been close, but there's still a few more enemies. There's also a free 100 P bag that he could grab if he absolutely needed to after you go down the final elevator. Max, I think the last time you played this game was also in 2013. Nice kill there. So that's like a prime example of how the enemies pretty much always do the same thing. As long as he knew that stop moving the whole way leading up to that enemy at the end of that room, that he could just, with a properly timed jump, he could jump through those hammers, grab the key, and then stab the enemy in the back and continue with the kill. Here's that 100 bag. He's not gonna need it now, but he could have grabbed that if he did need it. And yeah, I don't think he needed the 200 bag, but it's always obviously good to have it, and it does help to get attack 5 before the helmet head fight, so it makes that a little bit faster. We'll probably see him skip this final iron knuckle here. Again, that's using a neutral jump, so he's letting go of the D-pad when he's in the air, causes the kind of stop. Trouble with helmet head here. Whoa, that was weird. It's like one of those stabs should have hit but didn't. Either way, we're out of there. You see him skip the life and magic, and now he's gonna get attack 6. So now we're pretty much back to normal. Normally you would have like 6, 2, 3 coming out of here, but it's not a big deal. He'll just take those levels in Palace 3. And there's plenty of extra enemies and whatnot that he can get all the levels he needs. So basically from now we're abusing the gem. Interesting walk. Yeah, that was really nothing he could do there. So he's skipping magic and life, and then getting to the gem, which gives you all the XP you need for whatever level is next. So, again, another thing probably most of us didn't think of when we were children. But it allows us, we're going to basically have attack 8, leaving Palace 4. And the other levels will still be somewhat low, but then we'll level all those up, leaving Palace 5 and 6. Alright, waits for the spawn there so we can take the road encounter. That was a pretty average swamp exit. That's one of the harder overworld segments. There's 3 or 4 segments overworld-wise in this game that are really just worse than everything. That is one of them. You can't really move fast in the swamp, obviously. There's that choke point in the middle. It's super rare to see 0 encounters coming out of there, which is actually part of the reason why that new video I was talking about was created. Ooh! Yeah, he got an early spawn there. Oh, there's the jar drop. Interesting. Yeah, this drops all over the place now. Oh. Yeah, I see what he's doing. He's trying to cast life, so when he got magic, everything would be full. Palace 3 is, I would say, I think most people would say it's generally one of the easier palaces, with the exception of one room that has lava in it. It's really not that hard of a room if you kind of take your time, but trying to go fast. We'll just see what happens when he gets there. Okay, careful. There we go, there's life 3. He's also going to be taking magic 3. I'm not sure if he's going to be set up to take it at the exact time that he wants. I think he will be. I think he's going to kill this red iron knuckle out here. I could be wrong, though. I'm usually wrong when I try to guess what Rez is going to do, so... Okay, I got it. I'm right. So he's gonna ideally take that magic level right as he basically gets the item in this palace. Right after using his magic, he's gonna use Fairy to grab the item, which actually skips the fanfare of Link holding up the item for 3 seconds or so. Here's that lava room, so it's full of bots, which are everybody's favorite. Another 50 bag, classic. Alright, so we're through there. The way back is a little bit easier because you can utilize jump. I mean, he could technically have used jump there too, but he wants to save the magic for Fairy. See him cast Fairy, take the level, instant refill. Grabs the raft with the swiftness. And now he's going to cast jump on the way out to get out of here. Yeah, jump gives you a lot more time to decide what you want to do on landing, and half those bots just suicided anyway. Half of them. There's 3, so I don't know how it's half of them, but... Little strat right there. We'll just leave it at that. It's a nice strat, though. I'll let you guys try to pick up on what he just did. I don't even know if people who run this game will pick up on it, because as he told me one day, not many people ever pick up on it. Oh. Nice. Oh, nice, dude. If I had my volume on right now, I'd probably be excited about those tinks. I am super surprised. Like, that was really good to not get heads. Looking at XP, he is good. You need 399 entering the boss, so he's got over that. Nice jar. Fills it back up. Probably doesn't need that magic, but there is a time loss aspect to how much you have to refill after you place the gem. Oh, Rebo's not getting off his horse. There we go. Alright, so the shield cast actually worked out nicely. You would have lost a bunch more health. Rez is a beast. This is true. I think he's probably not very happy with how this run is going, but it's still on pace to be pretty darn good time, so... Oh! A little bit late on that. That was a nice little slink there. But probably about a frame or 2 late, and they got him on the back end. Alright, so we're done with Western Hyrule. And that bot encounter was pretty cool. So now we're going to take this raft and use it the one time we use it in the whole run. To go over to Eastern Hyrule. Nice spawn there. More random walks. These encounters are really just giving him random RNG. A lot of times the encounters won't just go back and forth like that. They kind of have a set pattern they follow, but I think it's something like 25% of the time they random walk. That can be manipulated in several ways, but not always, not at all points in the game. Like, there wasn't much he could do to manipulate how those ones spawn coming off the raft screen. Alright, so he went and grabbed that lady a glass of water from that well for some reason, and now she let him go talk to this guy who's going to give him the fire spell, which he may or may not use at all in this whole run. There is like 1 or 2 rooms that some people do use fire. It's not really required. I have a feeling he's not going to use it anywhere. I think in the room I'm thinking of, he normally uses jump instead. But we'll see. That's not for another 20 some odd minutes. This is, it's actually quicker to leave that town going back to the right. Slightly, maybe, I don't know, less than 10 seconds, but it is faster. Alright, fairy, little scary. So this is another one of those really fun and volatile overworld segments. The walk there he just did is usually pretty clean, which the fairies were a little scary, but he's fine. The walk back is also usually, again, air quotes, pretty clean. But you can get, again, if you get fairies or a random walk, it can screw you over. So we'll see how he does. The real tough one is the one coming back from the town. He's going to have to come back to this maze again after he goes to Reflect Town. And that one's usually kind of a cluster. Alright, so we're grabbing another 1-up. I didn't mention it earlier, but he did grab a 1-up coming out of Medicine Cave. That was a long time ago. Those are actually not because he's bad at the game and afraid of dying, but because he's going to utilize death abuses in Palace 4 to refill magic. It's not so much, it does save a little time to do it, but it's not so much for the time save as it is for the magic refills. Alright, here we go. That was an encounter skip, just like that bubble skip earlier in the game. He's going to do a few stabs here to actually, this is going to set up so these encounters do not random walk. Perfect. That's actually one of the newer manips that people have been doing. If you kind of do some stabs and wait before you leave a screen, it kind of settles the encounters down, so that they just come right at you, which kind of makes it so you don't really have to pause buffer or really pay as much attention. Alright, we're gonna hold down and cast Fairy so we can fairy into that chimney, which was also discovered, I guess it's not really recent anymore, probably about 2 or 3 years ago at this point, but before that was discovered, most people would use the jump spell. There is a pixel-perfect jump you can do to get up on that roof, otherwise you have to go all the way around past it, like 3 or 4 houses past it, and walk on the roofs. But the fairy trick we call Fairy Claws. Highlander, I don't know if he's still here, but he discovered it.
Shout out to Highlander.
Alright, so he grabbed the upstab, which is the other combat skill. Much less important than the downstab, but it is useful. And now he's going to grab Reflect, which is required for Palace 4's boss. It's the only place that's required. He will probably use it on the final, or the penultimate boss, I suppose. It's really the final boss. The final boss is kind of a pushover compared to the penultimate boss, so... Here we go, we're gonna do a little manip leaving this town as well, same as those skips. He's gonna talk to this sign, let a few letters show up. Hopefully he should get a nice clean pattern here. Perfect. I'm a little worried that he turned around there, but he should... Okay, he's still okay. There's some weird nuances about this game that we still, like... I can't fully explain them, but like turning around in a cave that you normally don't turn around in times will just give you random walks. Nice back spawn there. Did he get another one? Was that 2 back spawns? One of them was like a half.
Easy game.
Oh man, dude, easy game. That was perfect. I mean, you don't even you don't see that very often. Usually you see one encounter at least there. He executed the slink at the beginning of the walk perfectly, and then he did get... That was basically... I was about to give Max a shout-out there. That was basically hold right, and everything spawned behind him. If they spawn in front, like you saw him kind of stopping, waiting for that next spawn, he would normally, if they spawned in front of him, he would kind of draw them in a little bit, and then you can kind of just go like backwards one tile and up and around them, which almost always works. If you're trying to go down around an enemy like that, you have to do what we call blink, which is you kind of let them, you draw them in a little bit to like a certain pixel, and then you just go down, and like the encounter below you pretty much will perfectly move out of your way and then back in your way, like around you, so you just kind of go through. We call it a slink. But yeah, that was a really good split. He probably just made up for a lot of the overworld shenanigans that happened earlier in the run. Yeah, like, leaving Reflect Town going back to the maze, I think that probably is the single worst, like, overworld screen you have to deal with in the run. Maybe, I guess if you want to count, like, the Valley of Death at the end of the game, which is just... It's a longer segment with multiple screens, but that's no fun either. Alright, so Palace 4. This is what I would consider the easiest palace in the game, especially if you're utilizing the death abuses. Newer runners, you probably don't want to take all the death abuses. You want to save those lives for late game in case you die. But there's 3 of these rooms that he's in right now, and he's going to just take a death abuse in all 3 of them. Refill the magic. This specific one helps him out for the next room, which he's going to be able to ferry the item and cast jump in the following lava room. If he didn't take that death abuse, he would not have enough magic to do both of those things. So those in and of themselves save time. And then same thing with the second and third one. Second one refills your magic from being empty, and the third one, you don't necessarily have to take really any of them. It is wise to at least take one of them generally, like the last one's usually good to take, just to make sure you have enough magic for the boss. There are jar chances in the first and third lava rooms, but it's 50-50, so any palace where there's like one of those statues you can stab, if it's palace 3, 4, or 6, it's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be a jar, or it's going to be a red iron knuckle. If it's palace 1, 2, or 5, it's 100% a jar. So generally in this, we can't really rely on getting magic from a jar, so that's another reason we just take the death abuses. That would be the statue. This one doesn't have a chance, but the other 2 lava rooms do. Yo! That's a hot take, Scrivo. I would agree. Because everything else about this game is pretty much already perfect. I think if they tried to change anything, it would just make it worse. I'm also somewhat of a Zelda 2 elitist, if that makes sense. And I don't like change, so let's not change anything. Someday they'll remake it and they'll ruin it. Who knows? Nicely done. There's gonna be one more of those rooms. That one was identical to the PS3 one. The other one is actually quite a bit easier. There's no wolf heads flying around. If you think the dungeons lack personality in this version, try playing the original version on the FDS. There's only 2 dungeon colors instead of 6. Oh, well, I guess there's 3, because Great Palace is still, like, the yellow color. Don't listen to Max, though. FDS is fun. It's got its own charm. It's got a completely different leveling than this game. So, essentially, the speedrun, the early game is a lot easier, the late game a lot harder. That's kind of how it breaks down. FDS is a Famicom disk system. The original version of this game, released in Japan, was released on the FDS, and then the version we got was this version. They updated a bunch of stuff. It's actually, I mean, on the Zelda 2 leaderboards, it's actually separate. You can't even, like, it's separate categories. They're separate games entirely. They're not separate games, but like they are on the same leaderboard page, but yeah, they're different enough where you can't really compare them. It's not like running, you know, the Japanese version of Zelda 1 where like you save a few seconds because the text is faster. Or even Link to the Past where there is significant differences in the 1.0 version. It's not quite that just, you know, there's more glitches that are available and whatnot. It's basically, it's almost a different game but the same. So it's kind of unique. This is absolutely a Zelda game. I don't know why they haven't made another game like this. But Zelda 2 does get a bad rap from the general majority, so I think that's probably part of the reason. Anyway, Rez should be good on XP. I haven't been paying attention, but I'm sure he has drop. His next large drop is set up. I'm almost positive he has it set up for one of the next 2 enemies in Palace 5. So here's Karok. We sit in the corner and pray. Completely random boss. This is unfortunately the best strat. That was a good fight. Only a few misses.
That was a good fight.
So yeah, you're kind of at the mercy again there. You can try to fight him straight up if you want. Good luck with that. You're probably just gonna die or take more hits or not get hits because he just spawns randomly and you could reflect something to the right, he'll spawn on the left, you never know. But anyway, he's got the boots now, we can walk on water. That's what boots let you do, if you guys didn't know that. Like in real life too. You should try it. So he's walking on a specific, as you can see, you can't walk on every water tile. There's special water that the boots allow you to walk on, but not all water. And straight over to Palace 5, the smallest overworld segment probably in the game. And there's attack 8, so we are fully leveled up for attack. Rez is going to be going for a trick here we call Eco Key. He's going to try to take a damage boost that's pretty precise. And he nailed it. Easy game. That saves about 15 seconds, because normally you'd have to leave the room here as a fairy, then turn around and go back to get that key. It's probably more like 12 to 13 seconds, something like that, but in any case, he got it. If he had missed it, that's why he set up the drop, which is going to be right here. He still probably wants a red jar here, if possible. Got the P-bag instead. That drop's kind of a backup. If he missed Eco Key, you would have to cast Fairy anyway, and he already cast Jump, so he'd be out of magic. You need Jump in this next room here, so hopefully that drop would have been a red jar, which gets his magic back. If it was a P-bag, he would have to kill one of these Magos, these orange enemies, to get the magic, which can take a while. You have to kind of wait for one to spawn near you. Here's another RNG segment with some cool block dropping. Nice key grab. Nice up stabs. Good room. Really good P5. So those are the two things in P5 that are really key. Is Eco Key, no pun intended, I guess, and the block room. Eco Key is something most runners won't do till their time is well below 80 minutes. I mean, it's really up to the runner, but it's not a strat that's really needed, and it can really mess up your run if you don't know how to kind of come back from it if you miss it. But once you're down to like 77, 76 range or so, that's usually when people start picking it up if they want to. The block room is, you're just at the mercy of where they drop. There's a bunch of different patterns. You can get a really bad pattern that just takes forever to get blocks to drop on the right. Fortunately, Rez got a really nice pattern. And he's getting all kinds of Mago kills, so his XP is going to be fine. He's gonna have almost too much XP. You can't really have too much XP on this route, but on the newer route that people are running now, you do want to kind of keep your XP a little bit low here. I might explain why later when we get to the town, or I guess we're not going back to that town, but I could probably explain it later if I remember. I'm gonna be grabbing the Palace 5 item, which is a plunger that has some holes in it, makes music. And he's gonna be going to the complete other end of the palace to grab a key. Those two things are interchangeable. You could grab the key first, and then the item on the way back. Actually, no difference in time. Really, the only difference is when there's a jar hidden in some of the blocks coming up that Rez is going to be passing by that you can either save for now, or you can get it earlier if you want to come here first. $887. Yeah, Rez will be finishing this run 886, assuming he doesn't accidentally take a life, or a level he doesn't want to. There's actually quite a few different leveling... Interesting jump over the Stalfos there. There's quite a few different leveling options, routes, if you will, that you can take in this speedrun. 886 is the most common. 887 is a good one to learn on. You get a little bit more life. You get a little bit more magic in certain palaces as well. Like Palace 4, you'd have Magic 4 instead of Magic 3, which is nice. You can also do 788 if you'd rather have more life and less attack. You could do 877, which is interesting as well. I think ProJN actually does that when he was running. I mean, technically the life levels don't even really matter. You could do simple, skip the last 2 life levels on many occasions, trying to save a little time at the end of the game, finishing 884. You could technically do 881 if you wanted, which time you'd save, because it's pretty risky. You'd be taking a hell of a lot of damage. If you get hit, of course. And there's really just some hits in this game. Unfortunately, you could be the best player in the world, and sometimes you just can't avoid it. One more red jar there. He's got one more key to get. This palace is kind of a maze. I think most people, when they're learning the game, this is the hardest palace to learn because there's a lot of like back and forth. There's almost no like easy way to remember where to go. All the other palaces kind of have like an easy route that you can take. Like Palace 2, you're going down to the bottom, you're doing the whole right side of the palace from bottom to top, then you go to the left side of the palace and do that side from top to bottom. It's, it's pretty straightforward. Most of the palaces are like that, except for this one. But again, once you've done it enough, it's second nature. He missed he's trying to stab that last block there, which would have allowed the bubble to pass by him. A little bit of an early jump. Should be fine though. He's gonna cast shield for this boss. Guma hits real hard. And he probably will have a life cast on the ready if he gets hit here. Pretty nice fight. Alright, so we're leaving P5. What is this? 57:46? That's a good time. This is still, I don't think 75 pace, but we could certainly still see a 76 here. And maybe you could see a 75 if everything's like perfect. Alright, ferrying this heart And his level ups are gonna pop before he leaves this screen. I didn't mention it yet, but this is the most common place for it to happen. So if you leave a screen at the exact frame that your level up screen pops, the game will soft lock. The screen will just turn black, or it'll turn blue in that case, because the sky is blue, and nothing will happen. You will be stuck there until you reset the game. So that one actually is kind of common, because your level up, depending on how much you left the palace with, it kind of comes right at the edge of that screen, so you kind of have to be aware. There's certainly other places it can happen as well. Rez, get in the river dance. Good luck there. That was another encounter skip. He skipped one of these Wilson fence screens. Just imagine all of those enemies look like Wilson from Home Improvement. So that, yeah, the river dance saves another 12 seconds or so. I think these screens take about 12 seconds to walk. And that's another one of those ones that you're an hour into the run and you're kind of of the game gives you as far as a spawn. Again, on the newer route that I've mentioned a few times, it's actually a little bit nicer there in some ways. Like, you kind of control it more, but you also have to execute properly a couple of slinks or you're not going to get it. So, alright, here's the cave that we might have seen the fire spell used in, but Rez is going to use jump. Still, of course, Tektites are being jerks. Nice reverse tink. I didn't hear it, but I know it happened. You can block things with the backside of Link's shield if you hit them properly. He was like enough behind that projectile, but his shield was still in front of it. And here's Hidden Town. This is New Kasuto. We'll be going to Old Kasuto later. A lot of stuff to do in this town. This is the longest town. Actually, well, this might be tied with, that probably is the longest. It's close to probably Reflect Town and Fairy Town, but I think it's the longest. He's gonna be grabbing the spell. I don't know if I said it enough times. But yeah, that spell's called Spell. And then he's going to go use the spell to get a skeleton key, which gives him access to open any door without regular keys. The final key. Well, it's not the final key he has to get in the game, technically, because bosses drop keys to unlock the screen, but Palace 6 actually has, other than the boss drop keys, it has no keys, so you need this key.
I said the same thing, Max.
Yeah, skeleton key. Like a master key. And then he's gonna grab one more item on the way out. The reason he did it in this order, as you notice, he has a little bit of magic left, and he's gonna use that last bit of magic to cast Fairy on this final item, which happens to be a magic container, which will fill his magic right back up. And to get into that room, you actually need the other 7 magic containers. That lady wouldn't have let him in unless he already had all the other ones. There we go. And he's going to be getting the final heart shortly here on the way to P6. Hopefully with a clean walk. We'll see. We're going to see, hopefully, some more slinking. Ugh. Ooh. These Tektites are jerks. Alright, here we go. I'm expecting random walks because of the knockbacks, but we'll see. Ugh. No random walk, but he actually got a fast spawn and paused a tad late for this slink. See what happens on the second spawn here. Now he's getting random walks. Yeah, not much he could have done there. So 2 encounters, gonna get to the heart. should make it to the palace without any other problems. And Palace 6, again, not... I would say this is one of the easier palaces generally. But, I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair. It kind of depends on what strats you're using in certain rooms, too. Like how easy it is. Nice Wizrobe spawns. Little damage boost here to get over the pit safely. You can make, you'll see him do it actually in a bit, but those 4 tile gaps, you can actually make those without casting the jump spell. Or damage boosting like that, but it's just generally safer to do so. If he fell in that hole, it's not a huge deal. That's an infinite hole. There's 4 levels to this palace. Hot strats right there. Trapping the bubble. So here's a 4 tile jump. Yeah, he nailed that one. It's not pixel perfect. You have maybe 3 pixels to leave that. You just kind of got to jump when Link's front foot is off. So now he's going to jump over an invisible hole right there. That is 4 tiles wide as well. That's most of us cast jump on that one. Oh, and he cast life after the magic finished refilling, which is actually not going to be a good thing. So we'll see what he does here. P6 is the one palace where you really can't use any extra magic. I'm trying to do the math right now. He does need a blue jar minimum. He also might have a drop set up. There's not really that many places to get a large drop in here, but I know he didn't get one in Tektite Cave. I haven't really been paying attention. But yeah, he already got this red jar, so he's not going to get that. He actually needs, he needs 2 blue jars just to finish the palace right now, since he's a little bit below 4 bars. Two more fairy casts are required. What? Almost walked back off that. I think he thought he didn't get it, but then he realized he did. Yeah, there's 2 rooms in this palace where fairy is absolutely required. There's no other way to get through them. And fairy at anything above magic 5 or higher, fairy costs 2.5 bars of magic, so he needs 5 bars minimum.
It's better to be lucky than
yeah, he's gonna try for this. Oh, gets the jar. Nice. So that was another 50-50. You do have to cast jump to get that one. But the game was generous. Apparently the game knows this is a marathon, so... if he didn't get it, not a huge deal. He could take a death abuse and get the magic back, but then he's stuck with 1 life for the end of the game, which... you technically don't need... He doesn't need both lives he has right now, but it is a lot nicer and more comfy to have the second life as a backup for Great Palace at the end. It's nice to be able to take a death abuse if you really need it at the end of that palace to get your magic back, or your health, or both. He did have a drop set up. That's what I was wondering, if he had it set up right there. Cool. I don't know if he knew he had it set up, but it wasn't a jar anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. So this is one of the rooms you obviously need fairy to get through. And the other one is the room coming up here right before Barba. He's going to fight another mini-boss, another Rebo. He fought earlier. I neglected to even say he fought Rebo earlier, and he got the Crossed, which allows him to see invisible enemies in the final part of the game. Again, not a required item, but just makes things easier, and for this category it is required. We're getting everything, but as far as beating the game, you don't need it. And I think we'll see him do a little jackhammer action on Barba here. I don't know if he's going to do jumpless jackhammer or just regular jackhammer. Oh, yeah, might want to cue that up. There we go. Good reflexes. Monka ass, dude. I got scared. That hole is not an infinite hole. If he fell in that hole, that would be a, 2-minute time loss, so... Alright, little jackhammer fell off, but that's fine. Still pretty fast. The jackhammer kill on Barba is... It's like 2 or 3 seconds faster than the safe ones.
Trademark Rez move right there. We're getting Q Fairy right there.
Alright, so we're out. He's gonna fairy out. There's another relatively new... It's not really... I wouldn't call it a discovery. I guess none of us just put the pieces together, because we always ferry this bridge, because you get a free magic refill. No one ever thought to ferry out of the palace, which really saves frames. It saves you from having Link's acceleration up to full speed, whereas when you cast Fairy, you automatically start moving at full speed instead of having Link kind of accelerate up. Also means you don't accidentally hit your face on that ceiling overhang trying to jump out of there. This is Old Kasuto, final spell. Bring in the Thunder. And that spell does a ton of damage to regular enemies, and it also makes it possible to beat the final, or the penultimate boss. I've said that word like 4 times now. I feel weird. Alright, here are those bridges Max was talking about that I love to ferry. Because they're kind of stressful, and ideally you want to keep your beams here for all of Valley of Death. Certainly as long as you can. Nice tinks. Oh, dude, nice. I'm liking it. Alright, so we're taking that encounter on purpose. He might have been trying to GTM Slink, I don't know, but... Alright, that's the tough one. We're in. That was an encounter skip. He's going to be trying to do a bunch of encounter skips here, so that one you usually take. Can't really avoid that. Sometimes you can, but it's almost not worth it. We're going to stop here. We're going to try an encounter skip. Gets it. See him utilizing these beam strats on these MOAs. Try to avoid stopping. A lot of people use the spell here, which also turns most enemies into bots. But it also wastes a ton of magic to do those strats, so he's gonna just use the beam strats, save all his magic for GP. Good skips so far. We're through most of VOD now. Really just one of those skips left. Scorpion Max in chat, coming up in the game right now. We're gonna have Maxception. Fortunately taking some hits from that MOA there. There he is, and we're through. Easy game. Max being nice today. I think we might see Rez cast life here. Oh, I guess not. Last encounter skip. Oh, he got it. That was like a 1-framer. Alright, so we're in there. One more cave, then we're in the final palace, and this is certainly on pace. 75 would require like T-Bird skip or something. I don't think we're gonna see that because it's illegal in this category, so... Yeah, let's see how he does. Final palace, that barrier won't open until you beat all the other ones. Oh, spicy chicken. Alright, so this palace has a lot of enemies that we've never seen before. So far, up to this point. Or, I shouldn't say a lot, it's actually like 2, but... that was one of them. I guess it's 3 if you want to count the different colored versions of the Fokas, as they are called. We'll see them in a little bit. Just have to clarify that I'm not swearing. That is what they are called. Alright, those 2 rooms are a nice little breather. No enemies. Or basically no enemies. Oh, stabbing to the music is key. That is like probably the most fun thing to do when you're in your downtime in this game. Also, you'll notice Rez, his XP is just under getting that next level up, which is exactly where he wants it. He's gonna try and save that really nice. Okay, he's gonna try and save it till the end of the palace. At this point, he might have to take it a little earlier, but we'll see. He might actually end up just dying. It's hard to say. It's hard. Just like if he doesn't take any more damage, he'll be fine. He won't. I don't think we'll see Rez death abuse unless something kills him. I don't think he's gonna intentionally death abuse, but we'll see. Wow, dude, you. What? Oh man, that was insane. All right, there's a jar in this statue, but you won't see that jar in this stream. Nice jumps. Here's Scott Bakula. You guys ever watched Quantum Leap? Reference. Nice pattern. He did get hit, but nice pattern overall. Alright, so he does take his level a little earlier just to get the magic. And I still don't think he's gonna intentionally death abuse, but he might end up if he gets kind of a bad, we'll see, we'll see. Nice, nicely done. He's gonna have to get through one more Bakula and one more spicy chicken. This guy can troll. Oh, he's gonna give him, okay, good, okay. I thought he was gonna give him the far right spawn. That tank, dude! What even was that? Yeah, Rez didn't despawn the Scott Bakula, which is just a meme. Alright, final spicy here. Oh! So that shield cast... yeah. Shield cast was so he could take one more hit, but he was just not getting a good fireball pattern. That's alright though, he's fine. This is basically the end of the palace. Shouldn't need really anything else. Thunderbird, you technically only need about half your magic to cast Thunder. But it is nice to have all of it, because he's going to cast a whole plethora of things. This is normally where you'd see runners take the death abuse if they needed to refill their magic and they'd already taken the level. Just fall in that lava at the beginning of that bridge. And here we go. You get jump, shield, reflect, and then thunder once the boss is on screen. Make sure it's on screen. If you've never run the game before, he's gonna go for a nice quick kill here. Oh, almost. That was still pretty darn. That was like a one. What do we call that? Like a 1 1/8 cycle? I don't even know. That was really good. Really good kill. And now the wimpy final boss. Which, I mean, I guess if you fight him straight up, he's not that wimpy, but the way we fight him in the run is kind of just stand over here in the corner. Oh, he's gonna fight him straight up! Showing me up. Here we go. It's a lot tougher to get hits. Here we go. The other thing about this boss is he always takes 8 hits no matter what your attack level is at, so... yeah. So, like, if you're doing attack 1 runs, this is actually still easy. It's pretty good fight. GG. And what was that 117 flat on the timer, I think? The time stops when, a little bit after the kill there. Like, once you lose control of Link. So that certainly was a 76 if you didn't go for that, that swaggy kill at the end, but probably better that way anyway.
Yeah, I had to do it for the people.
For the people?
For the culture.
GG's.
Yeah, I think I had my splits open, that's why it's not stopping splitting, and that's why also the timer went to red or purple, so sorry about that. But, yeah, it was like a 117 flat, but still clutched the 116 if I did the real fight, which is all I really asked for.
Yeah, I think the second half of that run was much more solid than the first half, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. The Death Mountain was a little rough. I got like every single early axe ever. But...
Yeah, Attack 3 is always quite the ride.
Yeah, thank you guys. That's Zelda 2 100% all keys. It's a really fun run. A little frustrating, but that's all Zelda.
I honestly don't think it gets super frustrating until you're down to the level, but yeah, if anyone's looking to run it, you can talk to any of us. There's a few Discords for Zelda 2. There's plenty of resources out there, plenty of guns, so yeah. I guess that's it. I don't know. I don't have a schedule.